Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Crash Couch. We are here for season 5 of The Expanse, and we have a fresh face this time. Joining me, I'm your host, Chris McGuffin, first of all. Joining me is my trusty co-pilot, Joel. Joel, how are you?
I'm doing well on whatever day it is today. I'm losing track. It's like being in space and it's just one day after another. But I'm
Yeah,
good. I'm well. Thanks.
good to know. And our fresh face this time, you may have heard him when we did our Crawl Cipher episode with the SciFi Pubcast. His name is Derek. Derek, how are you?
Hey, more of a fresh voice since we're not doing video, but sure.
That is true. That is true. Fresh voice. How are we all doing? The Expanse is here, finally.
Excellent. We got it. It's like I can't believe we've waited. It's a week and a half before Christmas when these episodes dropped on December 15th, and I've been watching them nonstop. One of the best sci-fi TV shows in the last couple of decades, in my humble opinion. On television.
And books.
And books. Yeah, the books are great.
Yeah.
I wouldn't know because I don't know how to read.
Yeah, I was looking forward to this season in particular because book 4 is not my favorite book. So like book 5 is where it really starts to pick up. So I'm looking forward to this one.
Nice. Well, before we get started, we did have some very kind of sad news. After this season, we're going to have season 6 next year, and then that's it. No more of The Expanse.
Yeah.
How do you guys feel about that?
Well, we just have to go to space in real life, right? We just have to send more people, outside of Earth into the solar system. What do you guys think?
That's just the next step, right?
Just the next step, and it's like a evolutionary, progression of humanity. Let's go with that.
Yeah. Derek, do you think that season 6 ending with season 6 is the right choice? Because you're a book reader and I'm not, so you can probably kind of tell where they might decide to end.
Yeah, I won't spoil anything, but ending with season 6 will be a very natural stopping point. So I don't think there will be closure. So it's a good place to stop, and it's great that we got the 3 seasons that we did after it got canceled. I mean, that was a real long shot hope, and we got 3 years out of it. So they did get to complete this particular chapter of the saga. So I'm happy that we got what we did.
And one thing that I kind of want to just put out there is, a lot of people were really upset when they announced that season 6 would be the last. But here's the thing. I don't think the show's being canceled because it's a hit for Amazon. Let's be real. And I mean, it's probably not at the level of some of their other shows. It might be, we can't really see the ratings, but I hear people talk about The Expanse now. I see it on the internet. I see the books advertised in bookstores, and you just got to think that it's not being canceled. I mean, Amazon, took a big risk really putting the show out there, and honestly, they've made it 10 times better than it was when it was just on the Sci-Fi Channel, and it was good on the Sci-Fi Channel. So yeah, I don't think people should be upset because even the authors and some people in production have said that just because this part of the story is ending. And, from what you said, Derek, it sounds like it's going to be a natural ending point. We might get the rest of the tale later in like a spin-off series, or not necessarily spin-off, but just like a later continuation.
What about a theatrical release? Think about it.
Yeah.
Think big, guys. If Star Trek can do it, so can The Expanse.
They would make good movies. I will say that.
Can you imagine this show on a big budget?
Yeah,
I mean, it already looks like a movie, but I mean, they can get even bigger.
Yeah, and I'm thinking books 7, 8, and 9 when 9 is released. Without going into any of the details, that would make for one great movie, one awesome movie that you can probably see it on Amazon now, since most movies are going to be streaming rather than being in cinemas. But who knows? This is in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And Joel, maybe by then you'll actually be appreciative of the CGI.
Yes, exactly. If and when that gets up to speed to my high standards, of course. You say one remark on a very early episode of The Expanse about the CGI looking kind of funky, and it's 3 years later, and I'm still being asked about CGI. I love it.
Yeah, I was going to say the CGI looks incredible.
It is, but
this year anyway.
Yeah, I think it's outstanding. And I've been watching these episodes on a smart TV and a very large one, and it reminds me of a video game at times with some of the space scenes. And I still love the
Yeah.
fact that they take into account the physics of things in space with things being without any weight to the things and without gravity. And I just still love the science of the show.
When you say like a video game, is that as a compliment or an insult?
I think it's a compliment. I don't.
Okay.
It doesn't look like Pac-Man. Let me just say that. Okay.
Okay.
We're here to talk about the first 3 episodes. We're not doing just an episode by episode thing like we used to. Since they all just dropped the first 3 at once, we're just going to sort of take the characters and just kind of go one by one for all of the main characters, just where they're at in the story, what we like, what we don't like, sort of the projection from there. And another thing too is that this season is being launched weekly episodes, which I don't know about you guys, but I love that.
Yeah, I hate it when they dump a whole season at once because there's just instantly spoilers everywhere. Like a few people watch it all through the night and then just proceed to ruin it for everyone else. I like to watch one a day, one a week.
Absolutely. You look at it, it's dropping, I think, every Wednesdays, right? So the next one is going to be December 23rd, December 30th, January 6th.
Oh, is it? It's not Fridays?
I think it's,
I'm pretty sure it's Wednesday.
Yeah. So it's like December.
Well, that makes sense because they did drop it early on a Tuesday. And I thought that was so weird because I was like, well, they went from Friday to Tuesday?
Hell yeah.
And I think with Amazon shows too, they are a little lenient with when they get released. I remember when I was a fan of The Man in the High Castle, and when that final season launched, I think it was, I don't know, I'm here in Central Time, and I want to say it was like maybe 10:30 when that actually got launched. So it was a few hours before it was actually supposed to come out, which was nice because I did get to watch the first episode of that when it launched. Unless you guys have anything to say, we can probably get right into it.
Yeah, so there's like 3 episodes that got released on December 15th for season 5, right? So their titles is episode 1 is Exodus, episode 2 is The Churn or Churn, which is based off the short story, which is great, by the way. With the short story, the novella, definitely read that. And the 3rd episode of season 5 is called Mother. So lots of things happened in these 3 episodes. And I must admit, I think these first 3 episodes, the pacing wasn't, fast. This season is going to be such a slow burn. You can feel the tension in the air, right? Or on your TV screen when you watch the first couple of these episodes. And bad things are happening and there's going to be a shakeup. And it's like watching a train crash in slow motion. It's like, especially if you read the books, what's going to end up happening. But even if you didn't read the books, yeah, they're telegraphing a lot of things right now. And it's excellent. It's great storytelling.
I thought it was a really good idea to tell us up front that the asteroid was coming because otherwise it would feel very slow. Because I remember that's the way I felt reading the book. It was like these little side stories of like the people doing their own little, side quests. And I was like, well, what the hell is this? It's like a short story collection. It's not a book. And then boom, the asteroid hit. So I'm glad that they let us know that was coming so that we had something to dread and look forward to and anticipate so that we knew that this was all going somewhere.
Yeah, I do want to talk about the pacing because that's something that I did notice throughout this because, usually we're used to in past seasons seeing all of our characters in somewhat of a group. Sometimes they're all together. Other times, they might be split up into pairs or into a trio. This time, aside from a couple situations where we have Alex and Bobby in episode 3 and episode 2, you don't really see a lot of them being together. They're mostly on their own sort of separate mission or storyline, story arc. And it's really interesting that the way that they're doing that, because really had this show survived just regular TV and remained on Sci-Fi, I'd be kind of worried about how that would happen because these are like 50-minute episodes and they don't feel too long. They don't feel too short. They feel just right. And I think a little bit last season, and it could have been just us getting used to it, but I feel like some of the episodes may have been a touch too long or they had a little bit of padding there. Not often, but just a few times. But this time, like I was watching this last night, the first two episodes, and I just like I didn't feel bored. I wasn't looking at my phone. I wasn't really lost or anything. It just felt like the writing was just really on point. The way that they paced out each character, the way that they divided their screen time, I was just really impressed with that.
We did have some screen time between, say, Jim Harden and Naomi, right? Before Naomi left.
Mhm.
And
Yep.
my personal favorite in the last couple episodes is, of course, Amos, right? Amos Burton.
Oh yeah,
And his one-on-one with Kristen Ebesorella. Oh my, that was just right from the books. Just love that. And it was a short scene, I believe in episode 2, but I still love it. I think Amos is my favorite of this season by far at this stage.
I think the big difference with season 4 plus these first 3 episodes versus the first 3 seasons was that in seasons 1 through 3 they were in constant danger of death at all times, whereas just like the storylines as they exist in season 4 up to now, they're not really in immediate danger. They're working with the government. They're not on the run. They're an official mission to this alien planet, and they're supposed to be safe there. Obviously, it gets dangerous as they go on, but they're not hunted fugitives the way they were in the first 3 seasons. So it's definitely a different kind of pace than the first 3 seasons of the show. But that's just the way the story goes. It's the way it has to be.
yeah, Derek. Since you've not really talked, had an outlet to talk about season 4 on here, what do you like about the fact that it's on Amazon and not having to deal with the restrictions of regular television?
I mean, regular television versus streaming, it's pretty much all the same to me. The only complaint I have is when episodes are, an hour plus and they're very slow and there's not much going on. But I don't remember being bored with season 4. I mean, I only watched it the once when it came out a year ago, but I remember enjoying it. It wasn't my favorite book, just because, like I said, in the first 3, they're all hunted fugitives, and the protomolecule is gonna break out and kill everyone. Whereas in season 4, they're just okay, we're going to this planet. It's gonna be like a Wild West thing, and then eventually there's some death slugs. So it was enjoyable, but it wasn't my favorite storyline out of all of them.
I actually
Yeah.
appreciate the fact that when it's on streaming as opposed to regular television, we get to hear more curse words. I'm all about the swear. I'm a simple man, really. So there's that. And plus, just from a storytelling point of view, if you need an extra 2 minutes or 5 minutes to complete the episode and to put some flesh on the bones, you can take it in streaming, where you can't if it's on regular television because of commercials.
I will say that I am not offended by language at all. I actually enjoy the way that it's used in this series. I would like to know how a first-time viewer who maybe, heard about, like, maybe, no, I wouldn't say read the books because that sort of gives it away, but maybe they are in need of sci-fi and only heard about the Expanse through word of mouth. So then they go and watch like the first 3 seasons that were made for TV, and then they go to 4 and 5 where there's a significant amount of more language than what we heard before. And I wonder if that maybe would feel jarring or turn them off at all. I know it doesn't for me because I knew that would happen. I expected it to happen, but for a first-time viewer, I wonder how that would feel.
Yeah, but Chris, think about this. Look what's happening with humanity, right? There's a lot of stuff going on. I want to use more stronger words, but let's just call it stuff. And by like season 4, oh my God, stuff's going to change to a different word. Okay. Yeah, I think it might actually help rise the tension of the series if you look at from an overview of the series over the 5 or 6 seasons, right? As opposed to just the first 3 seasons that was on Sci-Fi.
Yeah, personally, I don't even notice swearing, so I didn't notice that they weren't swearing on the Sci-Fi seasons, and I didn't notice that they were swearing on these ones now, so I was completely oblivious to it.
So before we get into talking about pretty much the storylines of all these characters, I do kind of want to address the elephant in the room just very quickly. Obviously, since we last recorded, there was an incident with Cass Anvar. Obviously, he is still on the show for this season. He's not going to be on the show for season 6. I don't know really what the fate of his character is, whether or not he survives the end of the season, whether or not, if he does survive in the books, maybe they'll kill him off. I don't know. I don't really want to know. I just know that he's not going to be in season 6, and that's a good thing because he's obviously not a good person. Say what you want about his acting, but he's just not deserving of this kind of attention, this kind of role with this kind of fandom in a show as good as this. So obviously we don't here at the Crash Couch don't condone that kind of behavior. We don't support that kind of behavior. We support the people that were unfortunately victimized by him, including people that we know. So the way that we're going to handle it is we're just not going to talk about him. We're going to talk about the character because as Cass is not Alex, and Alex came before Cass. Cass did not create Alex. Pretty much beating around the bush and trying not to mention Alex would just, and his character would pretty much, in my opinion at least, discount the source material, discount the creation of the two authors. So we're just really not going to talk about Cass, his acting or anything like that, but his character should be totally free game as far as I'm concerned. If you have a problem with that and you don't want to listen, that's perfectly fine. I would hope you would listen, but that's your choice. Feel free, to talk about Alex all you want because this is a fictional show and he is a character that happens to be betrayed by a not so good person. So that's just where we're going to leave it and go from there. Go ahead, Joel.
Yeah, and it's funny that Alex, at least in the first 3 episodes of season 5, he comes off a bit of a loser. He's, his family hates him. He's abandoned by his family years ago, and he has made into he's a terrible spy. He just blunders into traps. He's not doing good, man. Alex, the character. Yeah, he's helping Bobby as much as he can, but he's definitely not the brains of this operation.
Well, do you guys want to? I was going to start off with Holden since he's the main dude, but since we're already on the topic of Alex, do you want to talk about him and I guess segue into Bobby?
Yeah, absolutely, guys. It must be hard to come home after all these years, right? And then have the reputation of being the first pilot to pilot a ship into a gate, and then he has his reputation to uphold. And then his interaction where he's trying to use his fame or at least his connections to get dirt on the illegal arms trafficking and trying to talk to Admiral Sabateri, I believe. Hopefully I'm saying that right.
Yeah.
What do you think, Derek?
That storyline wasn't really grabbing me. I'm much more interested in the other 3 people's storylines. So, it's just kind of there for me. I'm looking forward to see where the Martian weapons dealing goes, but aside from that, it's not really grabbing me.
I will say that I think Alex and obviously Bobby is the one that sort of brought Alex into her story, because I will say him coming back to Mars and dealing with rejection from his family, it does suck from his perspective. I mean, he kind of deserves it, if we're being honest. Based on what we know from the past, he really didn't seem to give them much care until it's convenient for him. So I guess he kind of had that coming. But I do like the fact that Bobby kind of brought him in, mainly because I think those two work together. They have a good character chemistry on screen. It's always good to just see Bobby Draper anyway. I forgot how much I missed her when she first showed up this season, but I'm glad that she has something to do and she's not just, she's not fitting into that stereotype of just like a badass like soldier or ex-soldier now, which she hasn't really in the past couple seasons, but it's just good that she's not just relegated to the sideline.
Right. And before I forget, I think my favorite part of at least the second episode, I believe it was the second episode, was the country and western bar, where Alex and Bobby meets up with a yippee-ki-yay and all these, settle up and all the announcements you can hear in the background, as well as just the the stuff behind the bar, on the walls, everything that's on display. You think about that. That's really cool, right? But it harkens back to a gone by era, right? The Old West. And in many ways, we're watching the Old West unfold in space. And that's cool. I like that. And if you know anything about Alex, apparently where Alex is from in Mars was settled by a mix of, I think, Texans and people from India or that part of the world thereabouts. And so they have this mix going on where you have people descended from Indians from like India, I believe, or Sri Lankan. I'm not sure what was that, or Bangladeshian, but with this Texan drawl happening, and that's how Alex gets his dialect, his accent. That's cool.
I always thought that was a really interesting contrast. Yeah.
What did you guys think of Bobby kind of doing this for Avasarala? Because I mean, it's kind of funny to me that even after she loses her political position, she was Secretary General, right? Am I correct in that?
Yep, that's right.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think she eventually became Secretary General, like in season 3.
Okay. But yeah, after having like, I like the connection that those two had, but it's funny to me that even after she switches positions, and sort of gets demoted because she loses an election, she's still sort of in the background doing some kind of shady work, pulling some strings. It just is very fun to me to see that is still going on, and the fact that Bobby was able to sort of be the one to lead that front just makes it even better.
Yeah, I think they both are trying to gain where the like status that they've lost, right? So Bobby has been court-martialed. She has no rep left, right, on Mars at least, and she's struggling. That's why she went to work with these criminals, right? And with Avasarala, it's kind of similar. It's like being outcasted yet still busy. It's like if you're the United States and you lost an election, the presidential election, but the administration wants to be nice to you and appoint you, say, I don't know, ambassador to Canada, right? But you still want to be work, right? It's kind of like it's a know nothing position, but Avasarala is using it, right, and still defending the values of Earth and trying to protect Earth because she knows bad things are afoot, that bad things are happening, and she's a realist. That's why one of the reasons I love her character.
Yeah, she and Bobby are my two favorite characters, so seeing them teaming up and working together is always a good thing in my book.
Yeah, and just the thing that I like the most about The Expanse is that nothing feels shoehorned. Like, you don't see, like, let's say you're the writer and you're like, okay, well, I want Avasarala to sort of initiate this investigation of some like black market weapons, but I need a character to do it. It's not like, oh, well, Bobby's not doing anything. We wrote her to be out of work, be like an exiled, pretty much Martian soldier. We'll just throw her in there because, she's just leftover. It feels like that's the path that she's meant to be on. It doesn't feel like, oh, well, the writers just wrote her into that.
Yeah, true. Mm-hmm. And also, she's not a soldier. She's a Marine. So, yeah, difference.
Fair enough.
I love splitting hairs like that. Forgive me.
Wait, wouldn't she be a Guardian since she's in space?
Yeah. But, I agree with you, Chris. I think these characters, they fit and they complement each other, and they still are going ahead on their their character development based on their own personal motivations and circumstances. It's good writing.
I will say that I was kind of surprised when Alex he goes to have drinks with that one girl trying to get dirt on the Admiral. And just something about her rubs me the wrong way. And I don't want any spoilers, but I just have a feeling that she's going to actually be the one that is doing the dirty work, and it's not actually the Admiral like Alex suspects, which would just it would make sense. Joel, given that you had earlier mentioned that he's just sort of like down on his luck and he's a shitty spy.
Yeah, exactly.
He is no Detective Miller. We'll go with that.
Well,
Yeah.
in his defense, he did sit through an entire dinner date with her and only tried to ask something at the very end. So props for
That's
that at
true.
least. At least he didn't do it at the beginning of the date.
Yeah, and
That is
she
true.
she tried to seduce him, right? Okay, at least she was playing her sex appeal on him, right? Okay. See
Yeah.
what Alex should have done is use his own sex appeal. This is like sex spy stuff 101, really.
He could use his accent, or better yet, maybe offer to make her some lasagna.
Oh yes, lasagna and coffee in the morning. I don't know. That's yeah.
One thing, let's go move on to Avasarala. I kind of am a little upset about her marriage because obviously it's not in good condition. We saw that at the end of last season, and we're still getting the effects of this season. And I feel bad for her because, this is a character that I'm pretty sure we've all liked. I don't think we have any reason to dislike her. And it's sad to see that, she just lost the election. She has to be up in space managing customs. So she told Amos that he wasn't going to get through customs without her. I guess she can be a TSA agent. It's really sad to me to see that. Like, yeah, she did get to see her kid, but I don't know if that was a good thing or a bad thing. But I just watched episode 3 before we started recording this, and she leaves that message with her husband, and she just seems like so lonely and so sad, and I don't want her to be sad.
Yeah, Chris, it's going to be an interesting season. Let's just say that. I think there's going to be a lot of sad people.
Yeah, well, I feel like I'm just always sad at this point in my life, so I guess it would fit.
Oh dear Lord, no, man, no. We can ask ourselves, what do you think? What's going to happen in episode 4 of season 5? Right? How is the story going to be played out? And it's going to be interesting how they're going to tell the story in a streaming or television context. When, if you read the books, you have a fairly decent idea of what's happening. Just you don't know the order of how it's going to be unfolding. And apparently, episode 4 is going to be called, and I'm going to butcher this name. The title of the episode is Gagamila, something like that. And that's going to be dropping December 23rd.
Joel, I did forget to ask you one very important and serious question. If that Western-themed bar was beside you, would you rather go there, or would you rather go to the bar that you actually frequent in real life?
I would go to this, the Western bar because it's different. I like changing things up. I like theme bars, not every day. See, the big thing about bars is that you either go because it's a cool bar and you want to experience the theming or the atmosphere, or you go to a bar because you know half the bar, like I usually do, right? So
That's fair.
Yeah, it depends on your mood.
Well, here's a follow-up. Would you rather go to the Western bar or your pub that you have on the SciFi Pubcast?
Oh, absolutely, the SciFi Pubcast. But problem is, I own that pub. So sometimes you want to take a break away from your own business and just to escape. Just sit down, listen to some Dolly Parton or whoever. Okay, have a good little pilsner and just contemplate your existential meaning of life, and your business and all the other problems that you probably face. Oh, I usually face. So there you go.
We have the best food at the Pubcast, though.
Oh God! Enough.
Wrong show, Derek. Wrong show. Anything else on Avasarala before we move on?
I think it should be a great stripper.
Didn't have too much yet.
Yeah, I will say that I was surprised at how little language we got from her, because there wasn't a lot. Everyone else
hasn't been
was
in a really
going to
stressful
Catholic.
situation yet.
Oh yeah, that's true. Well, I feel like, given that the last episode ended with her listening to Ashford's message, and then the asteroid hits, I'm sure that that's just going to raise the stakes or raise her stress level a little bit.
Probably a little, yeah.
Yeah,
Just a little, though.
Yeah, it's almost like there's an analogy in history. Right? It's kind of like reminds me of Winston Churchill, especially his second term in office. and if something bad happens, right, or something bad happened during in between terms, you have this
Mhm.
historical figure who has been put on the sidelines, and maybe she's called to duty once again for something way important when the stakes are couldn't be higher.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to Amos because I loved Amos's storyline in these 3 episodes. Obviously, he goes back to Earth. We get to see him go back to Baltimore, which looks really interesting. I wonder. I mean, I've only been to Baltimore once, and it was just for like very, very, very briefly, like not even a full day. And I kind of wonder how they would or they went about filming this if they like went and did sort of like a drone shot and then just like made it futuristic, or if that was just complete like CG. I'd be interested to know how they did those effects.
Yeah, I know some of the shots you can tell it's from Toronto where they filmed it at, but the cityscape itself, yeah, I don't know. Maybe they just reuse some shots they used from The Wire, HBO The Wire, because
Yeah.
that's how I experienced Baltimore. I've never been there myself.
I thought it definitely looked like existing plates of a modern day city with just CGI overlays on it. It looked like regular buildings with, some sci-fi monorails and solar panels on all the roofs, but otherwise it looked pretty real.
If anybody lives in Baltimore and wants to comment on whether or not this was Baltimore or if it was not, if it even looked a little bit like how you would think a futuristic Baltimore looked, let us know. So be interested to find that out. But yeah, he goes back there, and I feel like, especially in the sci-fi seasons, we didn't really get too much Amos character development. And then last season, it sort of started to rear its head. And I don't know how much of that is just them going off the source material and they don't really delve deep into his character until midway through the series. But I was a big fan of just we got to see sort of a more almost like a more human side of him. And the way he would like grapple with his past or grapple with his like emotional feelings. It was just really refreshing to see.
Chris, let me ask you this: were you aware of Amos being a victim in his childhood of sex crimes and sex trafficking, or
No,
was this a surprise when you watched this episode?
I was surprised.
Yeah, it explains a lot about his character, how he is. He's almost binary in his emotions. He's either on or off, right? Violent
Hmm.
or peaceful, right? And there's no gray. And it's almost because it was a defense mechanism because he was a victim of rape, basically, right? Not
Yeah.
basically, he was a victim of rape. So it's horrendous. And it also explains why he went back to Baltimore. He went back to Earth after the woman who took care of him in his worst years, Lydia, passes away, and why Amos is still loyal to her even in death. That's
So is she the person who rescued him from that life? I wasn't 100% clear on that.
yeah. I think she give him a place to stay, right? And Amos kind of graduated from being used as chattel, right, sexual chattel, to more of drug trafficker and enforcer.
I could be wrong about this, but I maybe I'm misremembering, but it seemed like some of the dialogue with the surviving boyfriend kind of suggested that maybe she started out as just like his handler or den mother or pimp or whatever you want to call it, and then eventually she helped him get out.
Yeah,
Would that be accurate or no?
yeah. I think it's gray, and they don't fully flush it out in the at least the episode. I don't recall them flushing that out in the short story or the novella, but it's been a couple years since I read it. But
Oh, I think the reason I feel that way is because why else would the crime lord be willing to give this woman this sweetheart deal on the apartment? It suggests that she was part of that life in some way,
yeah,
and that this was like her retirement package.
I took it that Amos did a favor to that fellow, and that was his payoff, is to for Lydia to be protected and have this house, and Amos is assuming this name of a dead man to get off planet.
Hmm. And the crime lord guy, I think at one point he called Amos his brother. Did he mean that literally, like a biological brother, or just that they were both growing up in the same life together?
I took it to mean that they were just growing up in the same life, right? They were
All right,
comrades in arms.
that's what I figured.
And what's his name? I'm trying to remember his name from the books.
Eric. It's Erich.
Ah, that's right. Okay,
Yeah.
excellent.
One good thing actually about this show is that you have the option of watching and having the subtitles in just like regular, like for us, English, like closed captioning. But then there's also just like the personalized, like Expanse exclusive subtitles that does the dialect for you. And like if they talk in the Belter language, then it like writes it out. It doesn't just, give you gibberish or something.
Yes, boss man.
Cool.
Yeah.
And especially when you have like somebody that is speaking with an accent, but they're speaking in English, it's easier to understand them, which was one of my criticisms when I was originally watching the show on Sci-Fi.
Yeah.
Since I didn't have that luxury.
And plus, it's helpful if you're trying to learn how to write screenplays, that format, right? And using words and setting scenes up. That's where they get a lot of the closed caption is actually from the scripts.
Also, what happened to Eric's hand? They never explained that either.
Yeah, so I'm guessing it's malnutrition or something along those lines. I can't.
Oh no, I took it that his hand was chopped off by like a crime lord or something.
Yeah, or I think the novella explains that, but again, it's been a while since I read it. But that
I've read the
novella-
books, but not the
Yeah.
novellas.
The novella is great. I made an effort maybe 2 years ago, and a lot of novellas are actually, I don't say better than the books, but they're just as good as the books, and in some ways, yeah, they are more insightful because they tell a story which is shorter than the book, and they stay on topic. So
I
it's
imagine they're more character pieces than like action plot stories.
yeah,
Is that
yeah,
fair?
exactly. It's filling in some of the missing pieces, right? With who people are, their backgrounds, their backstories. How the Epstein drive was invented, things like that, which we saw in the first season.
Uh-huh.
I really like that they incorporate the novellas because, again, even though I've not read the books, like a lot of that extra material, a lot of people would just discount. But the fact that they included it just shows how smart this writing team is and how we have excellent directors and a showrunner that really believes in the material, and is really great to see that they are willing to include that kind of stuff. Also, fun fact, I was kind of curious about this when I looked it up, but the guy that played Eric is actually like that is his real arm. Like I don't know if like the end of it, if they added any kind of makeup or like if that's his actual what his arm looks like in real life. If it's sort of like it looked like a little like pointy at the end almost, but he is actually his actual arm because he does only have one arm in real life.
Really fascinating.
But it's good that they like rather than just cast some random guy for a scene like that and just make his arm be in his shirt like we're in the 60s making a 60s sci-fi movie or like doing something with digital effects. They actually cast somebody that was like that, so it's really good to kind of see that representation.
Well, the Expanse is definitely diverse, both in its characters and its actors, and this is just another example of diversity in terms of disability, right? And that's great to see.
Yeah, and that's something too that we've been praising the diversity in this show really since the first season, and it's just as we have really branched out into more locations, and it's not just following the same group of people on a spaceship for the next story of their adventure. All of our characters for the most part are doing their own things in different locations, different types of locations, some more fancier than others, some are really run down, and it's interesting to just kind of pay attention in the background and just watch the type of people that are extras, or what they look like, or if they have a speaking part, how they sound. It really goes to show that it feels like a real lived in, like living and breathing universe that we're watching, that just happens to be a TV show.
Yeah, and almost like I get like a smell of it because they're in space. The scenes that takes place on space stations or on space colonies, uh, these people must reek, right? And you
Yeah.
have all these different cultures coming together. So you have different foods being prepared. Yeah, like in the bar scenes, you have all this alcohol stuff like going on. Just imagine the fragrance you get off it, the smell of these places, right? You can almost see that when you watch, or like smell it when you watch on TV. It comes across, and that's great on the producers and the set designers and all the production team of the Expanse, because they do a great job setting the scene.
So let's move on to Naomi, because obviously she's really going through a time right now. We start off with her in the company of Holden, and she breaks the news to him that she's going to be leaving to attempt to track down her son, which she does end up finding by the time we get to episode 3. And we've kind of been building up to this moment now throughout most of the series. And I got to be honest, when they first met near the end of episode 3, and it was just not a good talk and conversation at all. We see what happens at the end of the episode with her. It just is really sad, because obviously it doesn't take you off guard, because it's kind of what you would expect. Like, it's sort of the same way with Alex. Like, well, of course that he's going to get the door shut in his face by his, I guess, ex-wife, and his kid is a little reluctant to talk to him and want to do anything with him when they talk on the phone. It's really the same way with Naomi, because she's built up this thought in the back of her mind of, okay, well, when I get to talk to him again, he'll listen to me. Like, he might not want to listen, but he will still listen, and I'll be able to get my words out. But that's just not what happens. And just to see, when you know what everything she's went through to get to this moment, for it to just like go sour, is just it just gives you like this really sad feeling, but also just like a weird feeling in the pit of your stomach.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of guilt going on with her, with Naomi, right? But she did leave her son to be raised by Marco, and part of it's because Marco is almost like a cult figure, right?
Yeah.
Controlling, gaslighting, all that horrible stuff. A charmer, but a psychopath at the same time. And you have Naomi, who left that scene, and because of that, left her contact with her son. And the son was raised by Marco, believing all these extremist ideological beliefs that the most extremist bolters are founding in this fraction. So there's a lot of guilt. I can see that. I can completely buy into it. I'm not a mother, of course, not, because I'm a guy, but I'm not even a parent, right? But I do believe that if you have kids, especially if you're a mom, there's a lot of heartache that goes into it, and it's a whole different experience when you become a parent. So I've been told.
I always find a little hard time finding sympathy for Philippe because he is such a little shit. But obviously it sucks that he was left by his mom to be raised by the most awful bastard in the galaxy. But I mean, oh my God, I hate Marco Inaro so much. He is such an evil person. I mean, in a good way. I mean, he's a fascinating villain, but oh my God, he is so horrible in so many ways.
Well, it's exactly what, to go off that point, he like gets close to Naomi and like talks in her ear real close about, he says something along the lines of, "You were exactly the woman that, or the person that my father said you were." And just imagine being Naomi in that instance, and just having to deal with just hearing your son essentially be almost a carbon copy of his father is just, oh.
Yeah, and also that Philip was the one who got his gun up and took advantage of Ashford capturing Ashford, right? When
Yeah.
Ashford was nearly in control of the bridge, it was Philip who saved the day for Marco,
Yeah.
and we all know what happened to Ashford. Yeah,
Which
I
I'm still
kind of
salty about.
I kind of had an issue with that scene because, okay, just because the little kid is holding a gun on you, you still shoot Inaros anyway. Why would he surrender and put his gun down knowing that they were going to kill him no matter what? Why didn't he take out Marcos with him? That didn't make any sense to me.
I think that, I don't know. You make a good point, Derek. However, I think it's because in the back of his mind, he was thinking, okay, well, maybe if I can get Marcos to talk a little bit, he will, reveal some plans, and I can send this to Drummer, who then gets it to Fred Johnson, who then gets it to Avasarala. I think that's the way that it went. Regardless, all of them know about what happened, and I don't know if that was his plan from the start, but had he shot Marco right then, he would have gotten shot, and then the others wouldn't have known anything.
So he could have kept the gun on him and kept him talking, but I mean, putting the gun down is, I mean, there's no way of knowing that they wouldn't have put a bullet in his brain right then and there.
That is true. That is true. I guess it was, we can always just go with the, well, that's just the way that they wrote it, Derek.
He had to go.
Excuse.
He had to go. Yeah, and that's how the scene, unfolded. I don't know. But yeah, good point.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, that is definitely a good point. And again, I really liked Ashford as a character. He really grew on me from when he was first introduced, and I was very sad to see him go at the end of last season. Yeah, I kind of feel for Naomi now, because she really subjects herself to some harsh conditions to go looking for him, and then just to have that, and then be attacked by him and those other two people, which I thought were her friends, but maybe I misunderstood that, or like maybe they used to be your friends.
They were her friends back when they were all running with Marcos together, but that still
Okay.
doesn't mean that they're not terrorists now.
Yeah.
Because she was a terrorist too back then.
Yeah. But yeah, it'll be just really interesting to see what happens with her, and how she has to grapple with the fact that she's like, okay, well, it's almost, to use a Star Wars reference, it's almost like, well, Luke knows that Darth Vader is a bad person, but he's still, his father, and what length do you go to attempt to offer that redemption, or to try to save the person that is your family? And will she come to that? Who knows? You guys probably know because you read the books, but I don't know.
Mm-hmm. It's a common theme in science fiction that's happening right now in Star Trek Discovery, which I don't want to go into, but it's the whole parent feeling guilty and trying to save a son or a daughter from going bad.
I feel like that's a classic theme in sci-fi, now that you do mention it.
Yeah.
I guess we can go talk about Holden now, who personally had my favorite storyline so far. Yes, and let me tell you why. And it really hit me in this third episode. So he goes and talks to Fred Johnson. And by the way, I'm so glad that Fred Johnson is back, because I love that character.
Absolutely.
I am a huge fan of any time you have to like solve a mystery. That's one reason why I was really attached to this show at first, because it was, from the viewpoint of Detective Miller, it was a mystery. And when he was back in the day of just trying to find where Julie Mao is, those were the days before things went to hell. It kind of reminded me of what if Holden was a detective. And yeah, granted, he wasn't, going around like solving a crime or like looking for clues or anything, but just him and Fred and I don't know what the name of the head security guy was, but when they were looking for Monica, and they go in the container, and then it turns out to be the wrong container, and then she eventually does get rescued, but barely. Just that whole plot is just really like intriguing me. It just makes me feel like I'm watching season 1 again, and I just really enjoy it.
Yeah, that's fair. I like the mystery stuff as well, and I like the whole sci-fi noir aspect of it. And perhaps Jim Holden learned some stuff from one Detective Miller.
Yeah.
He did have him in his brain for a while.
Yeah. Now all he needs is a good hat.
All right.
And a really stupid fucking haircut.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. And speaking of course, Monica and Holden, right? I like the restaurant scene where Monica approached him at the bar, and he was having noodles with his chopsticks and having a beer, right? And just it's the small things, like they had this terse conversation. He gets up and he leaves, right? And then Monica basically grabs the bowl and finishes his dinner. Things like that. That's
Yeah. The other thing I liked in that scene is that there were some random guys at the back of the bar, like cheering him on, Rocinante, because I mean, yeah, these people are celebrity superheroes at this point. They saved the world from war and from the proto-molecule and everything. So it's nice to see that acknowledgement.
Yeah. One thing that what was I going to say? It was something about Detective Miller and Holden. I don't remember what it was, but
and a hat. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I already made the hat comment. Oh, I know what it was. So episode 3 was directed by Thomas Jane, which I don't know if Miller is going to show up in any kind of form for the rest of the series, but it's nice to know that Thomas Jane is back, at least behind the camera this time. I feel like and I don't know anything about his background into directing or anything like that. I'm pretty sure he's directed a few episodes of the show now, but I think it's appropriate that in an episode where they're trying to find out the people that subdued Monica, and it's a detective story or a hunting down somebody's story, that he's the one directing, and I just think it's very fitting.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, indeed. I think he's great, and hopefully he comes back. Who knows?
And it was also nice to see, I think it may have been in the first episode, that Holden is drinking his trademark coffee.
Oh, yeah. And is it me, but the coffee mug, you can probably buy them online, right? That specific coffee mug isn't like a merch
Oh,
brand?
I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can. If not, I'm sure somebody has made it at this point. Yeah, what did you guys think about any of the side characters? I know there really wasn't a ton going on. We had Drummer showed up. We had Fred Johnson. Who else? Anybody I'm missing?
The new side character that's the head of security on what's the name of the big space station? The one that's
Medina,
in the null zone.
Yeah.
The Medina?
No, they've changed names in that every couple of books, right?
Yeah.
Is it
that guy, his name is Bull, and I think he was a book 3 character that they didn't use in season 3, so now they're using him here. So that's cool.
We also
what?
We also have the new dock worker, right? The dock repair manager.
Oh yeah, there's this engineer woman. She played the crazy Spore consciousness on Discovery season 2. So it's nice to see her in something again.
Nice.
But yeah, I love Fred Johnson. He's one of the best characters, and Drummer is interesting as well. I always get confused about remembering like who she is and what she does in the shows and the books. So I'm always not quite clear on who she is, but she's good.
I don't want to spoil myself, but I don't also want to spoil anybody that's not reading the books yet or refuses to read the books. I feel like she doesn't have an arc at this point in the series.
Drummer?
Yeah. hint, hint, wink, wink. But yeah, so it just the way that they're going with her, she's very torn up about Ashford. I feel you there, drummer. Don't worry. It's really heartbreaking because, we saw how close they got and how good of friends they were. And when she wakes up from sleeping with that one girl, which I'm kind of curious to see if they'll explore that any more in the later episodes. But when she wakes up and then goes and gets that bottle of alcohol that they were saving, is just like, oh, it pulls at your heart.
Yeah, and she's following Ashford's steps as to become a pirate, right? And,
yeah,
and maybe not the most fiendish, heinous pirate, but still a pirate nonetheless.
I've completely forgotten. I remember in season 3 there was kind of like some infighting on the space station. Did she side with Fred or with Ashford?
With Fred, I believe, and so Ashford
Okay.
and Drummer were the two rivals, right? So there was a whole
Okay.
big giant thing where they, I think, most of the season was basically them fighting it out.
Yeah.
The difference is because they wanted, Ashford wanted to take a hardcore approach to. It wasn't the gate at the time, like the Porter Monocle, and yeah, there was just differences in how to handle the situation. That was so many years ago. So many years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I always really appreciated Fred Johnson because he was trying to, be the voice of reason between all the different sides. He was the one person that everyone would listen to because he was an Earther war hero, but then he also changed sides and went to the Belt. So he's always been a very interesting character to me.
Well, you guys, is there anything else that you want to mention about these first 3 episodes before we call it quits?
I just think the CGI in these episodes were amazing. Great CGI.
I thought it was. I mean, I do like to get one episode at a time, but getting these 3 together was a good package because we kind of got through the slow spell and now the asteroid is hit. So obviously things are going to accelerate and pick up from here. So I am really looking forward to the rest of the season because I remember when I read book 5, the beginning of it, the sections that we just saw, it was kind of slow. It didn't really seem to be going anywhere. It was just like, what's with all these little standalone character stories? This isn't there's no spine to it. So I'm really excited to see what happens in the rest of this season and in next season as well.
Yeah.
We're in for all good stuff here on out, I would say.
Yeah, I'm with you there, Derek. I know last night I watched the first. My intent was to watch the first episode and then watch the second and third this evening before we were recorded. But I had a little bit of extra time, so I went ahead and watched the second one. And I'm glad I did because I'm with you that it was slow, not because it was bad, but it was just like if that was a TV episode, you're like, okay, well, what was the point? Like nothing really happened, and it'd be difficult to talk about. So yeah, I definitely like the fact that they released 3 episodes right off the bat. Just the way that everything progressed, it had a good beginning, middle, and end. And I probably would have been honestly fine with just having the first 2 episodes and then saving the third one. But it did have a nice beginning, middle, and end.
Yeah, we definitely hit a major plot moment at the end of episode 3 to get us excited for the rest of it.
Yeah. Now, that is one thing. So we do see a piece of the, what? Would you call it an asteroid?
Yeah, it was a big rock covered in stealth material hitting the Earth.
Yeah, and it's interesting because in the books, I think there was multiple asteroids, stealth asteroids, but in the TV show right now, we've only seen one asteroid strike. So it'd be interesting to see how they're going to do the next episode. If it's just one asteroid, because that will serve the same purpose in terms of storytelling, or is it going to be multiple asteroids?
Well, we know he launched several rocks, and then the one broke up at the beginning of this season. So, more could hit. Who knows?
I will ask, was there a reason that it caused such big destruction?
Yeah.
It was a big hunk of heavy metal so that it wouldn't burn up in the atmosphere, because he was launching things intended to hit the Earth, not to burn up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So he chose material that would do the most damage.
And Chris, I think you can ask the dinosaurs what happens when like a meteor hits.
Well, I just didn't know, because I mean, I didn't know in comparison to like a city, like a large city, how big the rock was, and especially if it was made.
We'll find
of
out next
kind of
episode.
Because I saw that and was like, wait a minute, just maybe it was just the way that the camera had just went over the shot. I felt like it was small, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe it's just like a lack of perspective of me paying attention.
Well, by the sounds of it, it made a lasting impact on you.
It did. A very lasting
deep impact, one might say.
Yeah, that poor guy that was just trying to fish, man. He had some Rogue One vibes. It's a shame he didn't have somebody there to hug him. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about, or you want to wrap it up?
I think we should wrap it up. I think it's good. We've talked about lots, and I can't wait for the next episode. And I like the fact that we'll have single episodes to talk about for the rest of the season, so we can do the deep dives into it.
Yeah, and I promise everyone that this season we're actually going to release them on a decent schedule. Maybe not. Hopefully, we'll be able to get to it weekly. If the whole reason that Derek is here, not because we don't like Derek, because we do like him. He's been very supportive of the show, but we did have some scheduling conflicts, which is why no one else could be here. But we didn't want me and Joel just rambling on and on for 2 hours. So we need somebody to reel us in. Isn't that right, Derek?
Yeah, you needed a weirdo in the mix.
Dear Lord.
So yeah, we're going to be, assuming that there's no scheduling issues from here on out, we're going to be doing one episode of the podcast per episode of the show. If something changes and it gets to a Monday or Tuesday and we're not able to record, we'll just call it for that week and just do another combination like we are tonight. But we'll get that out hopefully relatively soon, soon after that the episodes air, or at least they get recorded. So just want to thank everyone for their support and their patience with us. I know that we didn't really get to talk about the season finale for season 4, just with everything going on in the world right now. It's just, life has been insane for all of us. So just would like to thank again everyone for their support and patience and faith in continuing to listen to the show, especially if you've been with us since the beginning. But yeah, just want to close off letting you guys talk about your Twitter handles, and Joel, you can talk about your other show. Derek, where can we find you?
I'm at Derek JBB.
And how do you spell your last name?
B is in boy, E is an elephant, E is an elephant, B is in boy, E is an elephant.
There you go. It's not like B, like B letter B and then B letter B.
That would be a lot easier. I should change it to that.
You should.
Yeah.
My God, Derek, what phonetic alphabet do you follow, man? Okay, it's not the military version. I can tell you that.
If I say beta, epsilon.
No, that's not even that.
That seems to be more confusing for people.
Bravo, Echo, Echo, Bravo, Echo, right? Okay.
Okay, that is better. I should remember that. Bravo, Echo. Yeah.
Joel, where can we find you?
Yes, I'm on Twitter at my first name, Joel, Joel _ and my last name, which is Welch. So that's WELCH. I also have my own personal show, which I've been doing for the last couple of years, called the SciFi Pubcast. And Derek, who just went on before me, he's one of the main hosts of the show. So it's a very laid-back, basically bar-style conversation show where we discuss themes and products and properties and science fiction and pop culture.
I think that we should have another crossover episode this season. What do you think?
Oh, yeah, I would love that. Derek, what do you think?
Sure.
There you go. Just don't ask about the kitchen.
And last but not least, you can find me at The Curse of Chris on Twitter, and you can follow the podcast at Crash Couch. Please leave us a review if you want to do that. If you don't, that's fine too. just be sure to subscribe so you can get all the episodes as they are released. Like I said, we will do our best to get these episodes put out in a timely fashion this time. Let us know what you think about the episode. Let us know what you think about the season so far. And until next time, take care.
Bye now.
Bye.